Well, I had a lot more energy before. I went I went running today, obviously. Well, obviously, I don't know if I even told you my plan. I didn't write anything down. And I did have something that I thought of while I was running, but maybe it'll come to mind. Man, my eyes are even bloodshot. So I I did pretty decent with my running. I paced myself pretty good today because I want to make it through. And even though I know it's going to get easier, it's just like I'm still super tight. And last night was the first sleep that I got in a week. Like I pushed pretty hard, and then I was super tight when I woke up, but I'm loosening up, and that's the one thing. Well, I guess the two things is that, like, even when you start to taper down, it takes a little bit. And then the other thing is that I guess, like, when you get super tight and like you're having a little bit of issues, is that you have to give yourself a little bit of time, like when you go for your run, from like the actual start of it to where you get going, because you'll notice that, like, you'll feel worse like when you get on the other side of the mountain or on the other side of the hill and you start to train, detrain or whatever. I don't even know really what to say, but is that you'll notice that, like, you will feel better as you run like further, because it's just like you feel so bad, but then your muscles like warm up and they loosen up, and so a lot of times you'll start out slower and end up speeding up a little bit. And um and I guess the thing for me is that you always have to, like, know that it's getting easier now, and it's sort of like the reverse of like when it was getting harder, is you had to like sort of slow down a little bit, and then like you really had to slow down, and then you were just barely, like, I was just barely making it, and then I got to the point where I didn't make it, and then I went back and kind of just wing. I had to, like, actually formulate an entire new strategy. Well, what happened going further, going is that now I'm getting out there and I'm feeling better and I'm running harder than I was before, because I know that my mileage is going to go down. So I'm because I know that I'll recover between the runs, I can push a little bit harder. And obviously I'm not doing that every day, but that's the whole point of, like, kind of the whole pacing thing. And so, like, but even with, still, it doesn't matter. Is it, like, compared to last week and even the week before, where I was really having to, like, watch my energy level, now I can go a little harder because I know tomorrow I'm not going to go as far. And so it's just kind of like what I was talking about, that mental buildup, where you're just being mentally destroyed on the way up. And now I'm just sort of mentally, like, where I'm so sore when I go out, and I'm like, I mentally, because I didn't make it last week, I'm like, I hope I can make it, but then I easily make it, and then I sort of rebuild my confidence back up. So I guess that's a whole part of, like, the other side. And you know and that's the whole point, is that, like, I guess I'm going to take a full minute or two, go a little bit over, so I could end it right there. So, like, the whole thing about what I was talking about, overtraining, is that, like, when you hit that wall, or when I've hit the wall in the past, is that, like, it has knocked me out for, usually it's like a week where I can't do anything, and then, like, sometimes it's even like 2 and 3 weeks, depending on really how bad it is. I mean, sometimes I got so bad where I really would hit that wall, like, while I was out, and I would, like, basically have to sit down, and I would get dizzy, and then I would have to recollect myself, and it was very difficult to get through that. And that was like a time that was really bad. And then I got super dehydrated a couple of times, and it took me a week or two really to come back from that. And so that was why I was saying is that, like, once you start to like develop, and notice where you're good and bad, that's, you're there you go. Like, you can push a little harder here. You can go a little softer there, or like, like, you don't have to like worry so much. And hitting that wall isn't a worry anymore, and you already know, like, the overtraining part is done, and if you're have sort of recovered, then you're back to training. And so now that I like slept last night, and like, I've been feeling better, and all my water and my hydration is back, which, I mean, it wasn't real. That was like the whole thing, is that, like, I got to a point where it sort of got bad, but it never really got like that bad. And so now, instead of having to take the week off, or the past like 7 days off, I've been able just to kind of like, get through it and pace a little bit different, like going easier some days and harder other days, and drinking more water some days, and drink, like, just by doing that type of, I don't know, training by behavior, that type of. Anyway, I had so much energy, and I just kind of woke up from a nap. I apologize. So, like, the whole point is that, like, so I've been recovering from last week when I couldn't go at all for the past 7 days, and I've built back up, and now I'm basically, I would say that I'm fully recovered from like overtraining, and now I'm just back into training, even though I am basically like, I'm still going about 9 miles, 8 or 9 miles, or 10 miles. So like, that's the whole point, is that, like, I'm still putting in high numbers, but I'm still recovering and still pushing in. And that's the whole point of what I was trying to say, is that if I just stopped, then I wouldn't really have an understanding of like where I can come back in, like where I'd feel better as I returned. And I wouldn't, and then my like knowledge for my next training block or session wouldn't be as much. And so that is just like kind of the whole, like, where you feel like you can't go anymore, and then like that's the mental thing, and then like once you get over that hump of like, well, I just did it, I did it yesterday, and now I did it today, and it just becomes like a roller coaster of confidence again. And then you just build right back up. And then when you take your break after you're done, so you're going into your break with that mental confidence, and you're physically like not like demolished, and so like you're willingly doing it, and you feel even better, and like your rest is even more beneficial, because like you're able to do it like without it being because of like a major thing. It's just like an overall, like, just taking some time off. And then when you come back, you have that mental, that mental clarity, and that mental confidence, and you're physically just back already. And like, well, and you also know you don't have any energy injuries or any of those types of problems. So it's all sort of, it comes back around. And trust me, is that if you push hard enough, you will get to the point where there is absolutely no hope, and your entire world will just fall apart. And trying to put it all back together, very hard. But once you do it, I mean, there's just nothing else. So I'm not going to tell you what my training schedule is. I'm not going to go into all that boring crap. I'm just going to tell you is that hopefully that my attitude, and my mood, and my confidence just continues to grow from here on out. But anyway, so I went even further over, but I guess like the whole point is that, like, sometimes you just, like, on the other side of the hill, is that like you're putting in such high numbers, but you're so glad that you're not dying anymore, that like you really, it's not even so much about how far you're running, it's just about how you're feeling once you're done. And I mean, you've already pushed as hard as you can. So, I mean, you could be doing nothing. So, I mean, you just got to build. You just got to climb back up that ladder where you just get back to the point where you got all that confidence in the world, and you get back into your like prime working zone and you build that base. And we'll talk more about that. And, I'm not going to ramble or rant today, but, like and subscribe because, you like to hear me rant and rave and stuff, right? You just want to know how I am every day. I want to know how I am every day. Maybe I don't know. Yeah, I need to shave. Oh, sorry.